Alright everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the My Team Career Mode series, where we'll be taking Fleetwood Formula from the back of the grid to the top. You know the deal. Last episode, it was the Baku Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and we found ourselves on the top step of the podium through a little bit of fortune in the sprint race, setting us up for a great weekend, but we had great pace. What isn't so great now is our position in the car performance. It's pretty bad. We're second bottom team heading into Miami because we've had many failures, of which we are fixing now, which we'll get on just in time for Imola. Shame there is a quick turnaround before Miami. We're not going to get that done. But yeah, look, it's not the greatest. Our engine also needs to be replaced, so let's not forget that. But the driver standings, we're third, and in the constructors, we are fifth. Again, don't expect that to stay for very long. I'm very bad around Miami, and I put that down to the fact that I haven't done a proper race weekend around here ever. Can't lie, last year's game didn't even bother getting that far into the life cycle. I think I did maybe 3 weekends. As you can see now, the evidence, I'm so slow. I'm trying to do my first laps on Miami in this game, and practice one, I couldn't get anything working. Also, the default setup is absolutely diabolical. It just wouldn't turn at all. An absolute nightmare. So after this session, luckily with the help of dumping all of our overtake, we got the race strategy completed. But then after this session, you'll see we finished very far to the bottom. I ran immediately to time trial, put in a couple laps, still not great. I think I was maybe even just top 6%, top 5%. I was so slow. But grabbed myself a little setup, and then we went and ran that in practice too as well. We did a quali sim, yeah, and we finished P3 overall, which was a shock to me, but I would say we were probably the only people going full quali mode. So I don't expect a whole lot. Going into quali then, we do obviously get some nice resource points from that. Jack Doohan still not pulling his weight in the points and in the R&D. We're also about to catch him on the Acclaim, so that's going to be a little bit embarrassing for him. But let's go have a look what upgrades we can get on before this race weekend, because obviously that means we get a few extra days and should be able to get them on in time for Imola. So, having a look in Aero, we've done 2 there, we've done 1 in Chassis, we can't do anything else. Maybe Powertrain, yeah, we can get something on in Powertrain, would be rather Fuel Efficiency or ERS, and I think that's a pretty simple answer. It's going to be ERS, but 40% failure chance is pretty bad. Need to work on their morale a fair bit, to be honest, and let's not forget, I do it quite often, I forget to change, but we're changing our engines. Should we change every component? I think, yeah. Apart from the ones where you have 2, of course. But we have enough going around. This is race 5 of the season, so let's do it. Let's jump into qualifying now for the Miami Grand Prix. The Formula 1 Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix 2023. There you go, that's the full name. So, I'm not a massive fan of this track. I don't know. I guess I just don't like it as well as an event. Everyone has their own opinions, but yeah. Let's go into qualifying now. We're going to load our custom setup. As you can see, I've only got 3 setups in total. I guess I don't do any setups. So we're going to skip through a little bit now and go set a flying lap. So I don't have that high expectations for my qualifying performance. On the exit there as well, on the last corner, every single time I was getting wheel spin. And it took me a long time to figure out I need to go gentle on the throttle, because yeah, you'll see so many times me just slipping and sliding through a lot of corners, especially sector 2. Now, here I found just go run wide for once. Don't take the esports line is actually the best way to get around the track. And I'd mess up here all the time, bottoming them out, and yeah, look, we abandoned the lap pretty quick because, I mean, cut the corner massively and just a pretty poor first few turns. So here you can see, I thought, you know what, I have to pull out all the way now because if I'm going slow through the next sector, I'm going to be absolutely screwed. Hamilton and Jack Doohan now go through, and Gasly as well, as we try and get rid of some fuel from our car because we forgot to take it out, of course. This time, we're not spinning on the final corner, or is it the second to last corner, because I guess that kind of counts. Let's start our first proper qualifying run. Braking just before the curb there on the left-hand side and trail braking very deep. I feel if you can get your car straight quickly there, we spun out and somehow managed to not bend the car completely. That inside curb there is completely deadly. You just touch it on the wrong angle and you're going to fly off the track. Thankfully, we don't lose the front wheels or suspension, and with a quick wing change, we will get our first proper lap. Finally, again, braking just before the curb, and let's try not to spin out on this curb on the right hand side. Get straight. We touched it, but we managed to keep the car in the right direction, which is important. Now, we need to set a good sector. Don't bottom out on this curb here on the right hand side, just touching it and getting it turned in nicely. It's very tricky, this braking zone here, because it's so long and just pure left-hander. And getting on the curb there on the exit isn't great either because you do bottom out a little bit. This sector here I'm quite strong at, actually. I found very quickly that I was quite comfortable around it. I like being able to throw the car in here really sharp, get a massive bite out of that left-hand side curb, which isn't really much of a curb as it is just a different color of paint on the track. And we go purple in sector 2, actually. So quickest overall in the middle sector. Final corner now, that was terrible. Getting way too far across that curb, but not spinning on the exit. Shortest run to the line as possible, and that's good enough for P4. Now, we stayed out on the same set of tyres because we figured we might as well try and go for another lap, and again, just about keeping it out of the wall. Dangerous. You know, I really thought we were about to bin the car off there, but you know, we're too good for that. We will never have any problem like that. The talent is just too strong with this one. Now, starting our first lap of Q2 now, trying to get the power down nice and early on the exit here. Watch out for that inside curb as we do all the time. A little correction and we're off into the wall! And we've absolutely binned the car. Just as we were saying, look out for that curb, I go to make a little correction and before you know it, well off into the left-hand side wall. That is massive damage for the Fleetwood Formula car and a terrific walk of shame. That was terrifying. It was one of those moments where you think you're making a little correction, but the tiniest movement and the car just snaps the wheel out of your hands and you're off. Into the race we go.
Miami International Autodrome, home of the Miami Grand Prix. This exciting track circumnavigates the Hard Rock Stadium, home to the National Football League outfits, the Miami Dolphins. Sitting at the southeastern coast of Florida, the Miami International Autodrome has 19 corners and 3.36 miles of racing. It's a circuit designed to encourage close racing while meeting the highest safety standards. Either way, I'm sure it's one that will please the fans. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Russell, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Perez, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen, Bottas, Stroll, Albon, Wood, Joe, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Gasly, Sargent, Doohan, Ocon, and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Can we start by having a chat about Sergio Perez? That was a great win in the last race, but can they keep that momentum going into this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Alrighty then.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
It was more than just a points finish, thanks Mark. We won the damn race. Now, starting a little bit further back than we would typically have liked, our worst qualifying position, I think. Anyhow, P14, we did see somebody get a penalty there. But let's go with the soft to medium. It should make the distance and give us the pace at the start of the race to try and make a few places back. The 5 red lights are starting, and without further ado, we are racing in Miami. We get a pretty good start in comparison to Albon on our left-hand side, and Stroll going far to the left opens up a lane, but we don't want to brake too late. Trying to get it turned in, and Stroll kind of turns in on us there, making contact with our front left of the wing. I went for a little bit of a look up the inside of Bottas there, but he was quick to shut that one off. And before we know it, we need to defend to Zhou on our left-hand side. Now coming around the fast left-hander, we're getting bumped all the way through the corner, and we will eventually squeeze him out. Now, the heavy braking zone, hoping everybody gets bunched up, and we need to start making moves on Stroll and Piastri as quick as we can. The mediums and the hards are going to be very slow in this early stage. We do, checking the damage, have front left damage on our front wing, so I believe that could be end plate damage by the contact with Stroll. Piastri defending on Stroll, and we go around the outside of Piastri, and we make a ridiculous double overtake. Wow, that is magnificent. Turns to the inside, and we can quickly seal that one out. We move up into P11 already on the back of Bottas, and Perez, also on the mediums, have a little look down the inside of Bottas there, but it's not really the sort of corner you want to go for a move, because you will kill the run down this incredible straight. Let's have a look back now at the start of the race. So, we did get off to a pretty good start. We're quite good with the starts in this game. And yeah, we could have tried to go an extra car in front and get the move done on the Alfa Romeo, but, well, you know, stay safe. And that's what we've done, and now managed to move up a few places from it with a bit of damage, but you know what? Better than nothing. Here you can see the little bit of the squeeze out on the Alfa, but there was no room to move for him there. So, we're now on the back of Bottas, and we almost hit the back of him! We were going for a late move down the inside. You knew we were going to do it, but he broke way earlier than we expected, and we are very fortunate to get away from that with no damage. Millimeters in it. Now, we could go around the outside of Perez here, but realistically, he's going to fight us all the way through. We're on the outside now, and he'll get the inside, and there you go. He's moved straight back up into his rightful P9 position, but hoping he can take us along now for a little bit of a tow, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now down the back straight, we're going to go brake late around the outside. He got stuck behind Magnussen there, and with the soft rubber, we have better traction on the exit to make the move around the outside, and we're up into P9. DRS enabled now. We have purple sector 3, showing we've got some pretty decent pace. Hulkenberg, Magnussen and Norris now in front of us, and a little train starting from the back of Alonso. Peculiar. I would have thought Alonso had great pace. Must be on the mediums or something. So, now, we're going to get a good exit, good enough of the ERS. Before the DRS is open, we're even still gaining on Magnussen. And this is going to be a pretty easy move, I would think. Down the inside now of Magnussen. We could get it done before the braking zone. No, he's going to fight us all the way through. But a late turn in, and hopefully we can get the move done without contact. We have. Who would have thought? We're up into P8 already. Yes, we're on the softs, but now we're looking further up, and Norris is trying to go for a move at Alonso and gets slowed down magnificently, and we just have to pull out there before we hit the back of his McLaren car. And now down the back straight, we can try and fashion a move. Soft rubber again, incredible traction. Now we're going to go around the outside. Alonso moves to the inside, actually blocking Norris, but we lift off the brakes a little bit too early and go extremely deep. Norris now, he's going to try and fight us to the line, but you know how it is. We're going to get better speed, and already P7 is ours. Alonso now is the next target, but I would be shocked if I managed to get past him, to be honest. It's lap 5 now, and the softs were expected to pit on lap 9, so could be falling away from us now, and the hards start to pick up a little bit. But we're currently still going to have a little bit more pace, I would imagine, but not through this first sector. We are extremely slow through the first sector, as we know. Except for here, I was going to say we're pretty quick through here, but we do slide on the exit, and are therefore going to have a very bad run on Alonso, and we're out of his DRS now. And the Norris behind, well, he's got our DRS. We have a bad exit again, on the curb, bottoming out on the exit there because I just don't know how to take that long left-hander. And now we are going side by side down the main straight with Lando Norris, but at the end of the day, we know, let's just concede the position. We lift off going into the braking zone and give him that position for now. We don't want to bother squabbling with positions that we might need to fight later on in the race, because realistically, if we battle all this time now, well, by the time we come out from our box lap in, I don't know, 3 laps time, we will be well behind where we should be. Funny enough, we get the position back on Lando Norris, but no, he goes right down the inside, very late braking and parking on the apex from Lando. Congratulations, mate. He's found himself back up into P7 with a remarkable move. But now what is also terrifying is Sergio Perez on mediums is right on my tail coming down the main straight. We've also fallen out of DRS to Lando, so that means we're well and truly stranded here for the Red Bull to go down our inside. Another situation where we're just going to lift a little bit earlier than usual and allow him the position. It's not the smartest place for me to give positions up, to be honest, because we're really quick through this sector here. End of sector 2, we're rapid, but you know, what can you do really? He was going to get us, so we're either going to go side by side through it or just be a little bit slower than usual. So we'll take the latter, as we do get the position back on Perez going into the braking zone at the end of the main straight, going almost a bit too deep there, just about slowing the car down before hitting the wall, and we're back up into P8 and DRS to Lando Norris. So whilst we switch places behind, we're still maintaining pretty good pace, and we will be boxing next lap, I believe. So Lando Norris is out of our DRS again. We have a bad exit. We think about putting the overtake on at the beginning, but realistically, there's no point. We're going to squeeze him up against the wall to try and see if we can maybe get a switchback of sorts, but he's blocked it off quite well, because this time around we thought we'd rather be ahead going through these corners, but we didn't manage it. Meanwhile, Nick De Vries or Yuki Tsunoda, it's an AlphaTauri, seems to be pulling out of this race with what would be presumed as an engine failure of sorts. We have an AlphaTauri parked in Sector 2, and it's Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki Tsunoda is out of the session. I got afraid there for a second, thinking it was Nick De Vries, but we're going around the outside of Sergio Perez, and that's a pretty easy done move, to be honest. Quite easy stuff in the end, getting completely ahead by the braking zone. I was afraid that it could have been Nick De Vries DNFing, and afraid because, poor fella, he needs every performance that he can get, even in the game right now. It would do justice for his career. Now, we've got Carlos Sainz coming into the pits, and he was on softs, so figures to box a lap earlier than us. By the way, we pulled a half a second to Perez, which is great news for us because we're usually quite slow in the first sector and we're maintaining it. Look how quickly we're going to change the delta just through these few corners. We're half a second, and as we exit down the main straight, I mean, not the best exit, we get right over the top of that curb, so it's going to compromise our exit, but still, we've gained 2/10, which isn't, now that I say it out loud, that much, but usually we're better than that. And whilst we're getting ready to pull into the pits, Carlos Sainz is stuck behind the Williams. We almost go into the back of Lando Norris there, braking super late and not slowing the car down. And we're going to follow him into the pits now. He's on hards going into the pits, as is Alonso. So they're going for a hard medium, but spending more time on the medium than the hard. That just doesn't seem normal. Now, looking ahead, we've got Alonso quite a ways away in front, but as he's about to come out of the pits, he gets hurled up by the Haas. So that brings him right into our attacking window as we have a pretty quick stop, 2.5 seconds, and coming out behind Norris, who is immediately behind Alonso. So it's a matter of time now until we're on a fight for Alonso's position. Lap 10 now as we exit the pits. And we're at the halfway stage of this race now, and one of the earlier boxes. So we've got a massive train, as you can see on the mini-map, forming through Sector 2 now, and if anything were to happen in that little train, maybe one driver being slow, we would be able to gain incredible time for them. I mean, you know, fair dues, we're not necessarily fighting all of them, but as we say that, Alonso has caught the back of the train, as has Norris, and therefore we are well and truly in for a fight here. And hang on, as you can see, they're slowed down by our teammate. Thank you very much, Jack. Not on the train that I was talking about, actually, but has created our own little train. DRS now to Norris. We're going to try and get a move done on him. Look at us coming down the straight. It's 2 wide and could potentially go 3 wide as we go for a move down the inside of Norris and almost hitting the inside of Nick de Vries and just about keeping out of trouble there. Thank you, Nick, for being alert, because I did not mean to go for that move. The accidental double overtake. So a few more people into the pits now. Piastri, Hulkenberg, just to name a few. Now Jack Doohan, I'll be getting over the radio and calling team orders right now because it is no time to be holding me up, son. We're on the same tyres and I am much quicker than you. So we're going to try and go down the inside, but he's holding strong in the position and we're going to have to give him a squeeze here to get past. And unfortunately, he loses out to Lando Norris in the process. But Jack, why on earth were you trying to fight that? I am quite literally the boss here, so you stay behind. You should have let me go in a nice clean way, and now you've missed out. Now, slowly starting to catch the cars in front, namely Alonso, and hang on, there's slow cars up in front as we just about notice in time. That was ridiculously close to hitting the back of Alonso there, and what on earth has happened? Let's go back and take a look. We make it through pretty clean, and it was Sergio Perez in P3 who spun out, and then everybody else comes and gets absolutely blocked up, except for the Alpine, who seems to make it through okay. Here's Hamilton almost hitting the wall. I don't know what line that was. And then George goes into Hamilton, and there's a massive train now, and this is where Alonso got caught up, and we just managed to get around in time, almost scraping the wall there. Look how close that was. But I tell you what, when this happened live, I just had the craziest little reaction moment because I was not paying attention. I was so glued into the apex, and then I saw Alonso was stuck, and I just a little quick jab on the steering, and everybody else is going out. And now we've got the Williams hitting the back of Gasly, and now Nick de Vries is out of the session after talking him up before, and with that, we've moved up into P8, and now people are bidding. Oh my god, we're going to be P5 now. This is ridiculously fortunate. I cannot lie to you. I do not deserve to be in P5 right now. And presumably, Zhou is going to pit as well soon, as we're on the back of him. And we should be able to get DRS here. Look how quick we are. And breaking the DRS to Sainz, we have. And getting the DRS with Zhou, we have as well. What a Sector 2. Purple in Sector 2, you see. And now, Perez goes into the pits as well. And then Zhou, surely he'll follow. So Zhou's in, Perez is in. And if you have a look, we're up into P3. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculously fortunate. Sainz is on the back of us now, though. As you can see. 1.5 seconds behind. He'll be pushing like crazy. It is no time now to mess about, because we have been absolutely handed this race. I was not expecting to be fighting for a podium today at all. I am extremely slow around this track relative to usual, and also just not a whole lot of practice. But first sector is going to be a struggle for us. We just realistically need to keep Sainz out of our DRS here after that long left-hander as we're coming through now. As long as I can keep him without our DRS through that sector, we'll make it up in the next few turns. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do now, but sliding through is not ideal at all. So now, head down, wheels spinning, foot to the pedal, to the metal, and I don't know what that was, but it was some sort of poetry. And as we're going to come, that was so stupid. I'm going to leave it in. As we're going to come now through the final sector, we get a weather report warning. 15 minutes until rain, and so I'm running the numbers in my head, and shock, with only 6 laps to go, 15 minutes, we're not going to see this rain. It could come earlier though. Coming through the first sector now, we are 2 seconds now to Carlos Sainz, but messing that all up within a matter of 2 turns. And he will be within half a second now, and again, we kind of get a little bit too much on the curve there on the exit, but we make it up again through the next few corners, as you would, I think, expect by this point. and down the main straight. 2 seconds now to Carlos Sainz behind. We are absolutely flying through sectors 2 and 3, and Carlos is starting to fall behind and getting a bit comfortable now. We could see ourselves quite confidently taking a step towards the podium. What is a concern to me though is our front tyre wear is not that safe. I think I've been really pushing, and as you can see through these sectors specifically, I'm sliding so much on the exit. So not only are my fronts hurting from my incredibly sharp turn-in driving style, but watch here on the exit, I presume I'm going to get really heavy, and we're almost drifting before we downshift and brake again at the next corner. And on the exit there as well, a bit of wheel spin. So I need to preserve my tyres a little bit more than I currently am. Leclerc and Verstappen P1 and 2, well, they're just driving off into the distance, so that's not even something to worry about. What is a shock to me is that Carlos Sainz on the better tyre is the same pace as us, which is a good few tenths a lap, almost half a second a lap slower than Leclerc. So Carlos isn't having the greatest race, but given Leclerc's pace, that is signs to me that I could be in danger as this race progresses now into the last couple laps. As we say that, Carlos Sainz is getting kind of dangerously close now. We need a good few sectors here to put him just in our rearview mirror, say goodbye, and that's pretty nice through there. We keep it nice and narrow uphill here on the left, and we get a little bit of a hesitant turn in, and we take out the bollard, which is going to completely slow us down. And on the exit as well, we have a little bit of a wheel spin sort of moment, and that has kind of scared me a little bit. As we're coming through now, starting lap 18, checking up on Jack Doohan. I saw him on the minimap behind a Mercedes, and I thought, well, that might be pretty good. Then realizing that, well, it's not that hard because of what happened earlier. So realistically, Jack's still probably not going to score his first points, but a pretty good effort from him to still be up there. And if you're having a look now at the Delta, Carlos Sainz will be within our 1 second DRS window, and definitely now that we've had a cheeky little spin on the exit. So we're going to have to start dumping our ERS, and we do that to get Carlos back within 9 tenths. So even with DRS, our ERS was able to take a gain on Carlos now, and we're sliding again through the next couple turns, and this is starting to get a little bit dangerous now. Almost, and we do actually, I was going to say almost hitting the wall, but we nick the wall as we come through that little corner there to set up the back straight. Having a look on board with Carlos Sainz, you can see our little spin there, but down the main straight again, we're going to start, so not the main straight, down the back straight, we gained a fair bit of time, but sector 1 now is going to be troublesome because we know realistically Carlos could make half a second on us here. So let's see what happens. Into the first braking zone, trail braking all the way through the corner, and very gentle on the exit here. Do not start sliding, son. The penultimate lap of the race, taking it out really wide there, and that's actually helped us a lot more than I thought it would. Should have done that in the other laps, but you know, hindsight, what can you do about it? Getting on the curb there, unfortunately, is going to really ruin our run. We almost dropped DRS to Carlos, but ruined it at the last moment. That was a great start to sector 1, and now we have slid on the exit again, and we are in trouble. Do I need to remind you what the Ferrari is capable? Look at Charles Leclerc, 12.5 seconds in front of us, and Carlos Sainz is now within half a second. We need a good few sectors here. Sectors 2 and 3, please do us justice. Can we break DRS to Carlos Sainz? I know we're quick, but I wouldn't imagine it possible. Have we done it?
5 minutes.
No, we haven't. Carlos Sainz has got DRS down the back straight and into the final corner to start our last lap of the race in Miami. He will be within DRS already. It's the last lap of the race, and we are fighting for another podium. This would be our 3rd in a row by pure luck this weekend. We have found ourselves in a fight for P3. Carlos Sainz on the back of us now. Not actually as close as we might have thought. Maybe dirty air playing a factor. We need to be clean. Getting it in left sharp, and on the right we don't. We have a bit of understeer there on the exit, and he's going to be right on the back of us the whole way down this straight. If we get a good exit, that would help. We get a better exit than usual, if not for the snap, but with our ERS being absolutely dumped, we could maintain the position now as we start our favoured sector. So, Carlos is going to try and go around the outside, and it's late on the brakes to try and squeeze him out. A late turn in parking on the apex, and we've kept P3 for now. Now we need to get them powered down, but we're sliding all the way through the corner and still snapping. We couldn't get the power down again. And now, Carlos Sainz, we're going to let go. Down our inside. Go on, son. A bit of DRS chicken. Have we timed it right? Yeah, we got to let him go first. There we go. We'll have the DRS, but I don't know if we're going to have enough to get him back into the braking zone. Having a look now. Look at that move. Down the inside, we keep him squeezed out, but coming through the next corner here, we slide so badly on the exit, and again, as we come up through the braking zone. And then I couldn't cut the chicane, so it was just parking it there, and by this point, we needed the DRS. So we let Carlos go, and I think we were actually just a tad too late on getting the power down there, and that could severely compromise us. Now into the slipstream of Carlos Sainz. We've got the DRS and no more ERS. Max Verstappen wins the Miami Grand Prix. Down the outside, we're going to try and go with Carlos Sainz. Going to go for a switchback move here, but he parks it completely on the apex. He was completely slowed down, came to an absolute stop. We try to turn in. It's going to be a dash to the line now. He would go around the outside, but it doesn't look like we have enough, and we get P4 in the Miami Grand Prix. We didn't manage to get Carlos on the line, but that was a ridiculous photo finish in the end of the Miami Grand Prix. We get driver of the day. A disappointing result maybe when you consider how close we were to P3. A bit disappointing the way that Carlos Sainz parked on the apex there. Little bit dodgy. I don't know, might have to talk to the stewards after this, file a report. But, all jokes aside, we take P4, and that is a ridiculous finish. If you told me before the race you're going to finish P4, I wouldn't have believed it. So, you know what? Very proud day for the Fleetwood Formula team, grabbing a great load of points again in a track where we weren't expecting to.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everybody at the team.
Well done, Max. Another win, another day, leading the championship again. Surprisingly,
I have to give it to Wood. That was a commanding performance.
Surprisingly, he's not storming away by that much. Sorry, I was just listening to me receiving the driver of the day vote. Thank you so much. Thank you. Crofty giving us a shout out as well. He says we've climbed up the order. Let's have a look at that. Poor DNFs. We got Piastri, De Vries, Sonoda, and I believe it was Ocon, not Gasly, getting DNF'd. Pardon my French, from before when I said that Gasly got knocked out, but he didn't. We are still P3 in the drivers' standings and 4 points behind Perez, and P3 in the constructors as well. We are absolutely carrying this team currently, but what a weekend this was. Honestly, going into it, I was dreading this race because I've never done this track properly. I just didn't like it, but it's growing on me a little bit, to be honest with you, and I think quite a lot of you would be glad to hear that. I know it's an appreciated track in this game. We had a bit of fortune from Sergio Perez holding up pretty much the entire grid as we slipped up into a high-scoring points position, and then we had the fight for P3 all the way to the line. We almost had it, but we didn't quite in the end. What a weekend of racing. I've been Ethan, Woody F1. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all next time.